Ali B is in the house. Welcome.
I am literally in the house.
You are literally in the house in the Mojo studio.
That's right.
And it's always so nice to have a man presence in the studio because, as I was saying with a guest the other day, it is very vulva-like in the studio.
One of my favorite spots in the world, really.
Exactly. I was going to say of many of all the men, I would think this is going to be a happy place for you.
Yeah, not the worst spot to be in. Yeah, thank you. And reminds me of that time when I was invited to speak at TEDx Financial District Women. So I was one of two men speaking at an all-women's conference. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, good times.
Here we are. Well, in my experience and my understanding of you're very pro-woman. You have been an advocate for women. You are great at helping to educate women. You've got one of the best-selling books on dating so women can excel with men. And your background is so, you're a very scholared human being.
There have been some books and some reading
There have been some books and some readings and some degrees,
We collect degrees. They're decorative degrees. I put them on the wall. I don't use them later. It just seems wrong.
Well, okay. I would beg to differ because I feel like you've created a wonderful hodgepodge, if you will, of all the degrees and are disseminating it, to people. So I'm glad you're here.
My mom would be glad to hear that too.
All right. Well, have mom listen in. Yeah. Maybe she'll like the whole podcast. You never know.
She has vulva.
So, but actually, and speaking of books, though, you were just telling me about a book that you're recently reading, and I found it fascinating. Yeah. Just share a little bit more about that, because I think it'll segue nicely into our conversation.
Yeah, the book that I was listening to on the way in is called The Immortality Key by Brian Murarescu, and it's fascinating. It's about the suppressed history of Christianity being a continuity of pagan religions that were based on psychedelics, especially this particular potion called the Kagan, which apparently was used in the Eleusinian mysteries, the longest kept secret in Western civilization, where on pain of death you can tell what happened in Eleusis. And apparently there's a whole initiation rite involving psychedelics, and the women brewed this particular thing. So the whole thing was based on leadership of women. All this was suppressed and lost in translation, quite literally. And now this guy has done extensive scholarship to bring this all back. It's fascinating stuff, including some lines from the Bible. You're like, oh yeah, he did say that. What does that all mean? And he tells you.
Huh. And so, I love hearing any, of course, factual pieces of, yes, by the way, there was a systematic, conscious suppression of women. Mm-hmm. And does it talk about why? And I'm also curious why you think that women were so feared.
Well, the patriarchy is going to patriarch. So they decide to take back their power and suppress all that stuff. And it was a consolidation of power. It's all about power. And the Roman Catholic Church had a certain way of doing things. And the Council of Nicaea. Just the whole thing is very extensive and very convoluted. But it's fascinating because once you hear that, it all makes a lot of sense. Like this whole notion of the sacrament of the what do you call it? When you go to mass, you have this thing called the.
Oh, see, I'm a Jew, so
right.
I never.
But
it's the wafer.
Yeah, the wafer and the wine, right?
Yes.
So communion, right? So you do. So it's the whole idea of this is the actual blood and flesh of Christ. Right. That's like ritualized cannibalism, and. It's exactly where it is.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. Yes.
And this has all this precedent in the Dionysian cults, and there's like this complete one-to-one correspondence between what they did in the Dionysian cults and in the cult of Jesus, and so it's all very interesting, and the whole idea of taking in the blood and flesh of the God in order to become the God, and that being a path to your own transcendence.
It really is. I've never actually heard it phrased in that way, but it really is a cult, because any other organization or spiritual group that says, hey, like drink the blood of this or eat the flesh of that are called crazy, right? And heathens.
Yeah.
And yet, wow, I've never thought of it that way.
And the whole notion of transubstantiation, people think, oh, you just go in there and you have a wafer. But really, it's kind of heavy. It's like, this is, no, this is literally the flesh and blood. So yes, as a fellow heathen, I'm like, wow, that's interesting. So.
Yeah. And did you grow up with any particular religion? Was that part of your...
I grew up in Iran, which means that by default, everybody's kind of Muslim, Shia Muslim. But our family was mostly secular. And I took it seriously for a while just because this revolution thing happened when I was there, and fundamentalist Islam took over, and there was some very systematic indoctrination happening in school. So I became vaguely religious for a while during childhood, and then kind of snapped out of it and came to the US and realized a lot of the stuff that was being fed to us was just plain nonsense. And
So did your parents snap you out of it? Was it something like another kid said to you? Because those moments are so rich and interesting.
Yeah. Well, the whole revolution and just the oppressiveness of it, and the separation of men and women, and the denigration of women, and cover up your hair, and then just the plain killing of people based on power grabs, but with the excuse of religion.
Yes.
So that also happened. So after a while, and our parents, my parents were very good at de-brainwashing us. Like, by the way, this stuff, it's not really all that great. So yeah, there was that, but it's also just anybody who has eyes to see can witness that a lot of these fundamentalists, it's not about your salvation. It's not about your happiness. It's about their power and keeping you down. So,
man, power, power, power. Well, power to the pussy is what I would like to say.
Hallelujah to that.
Hallelujah to that. And speaking of, you have so many great talks, and engineering happiness and neuroscience and all that. And why I'm so excited to bring you onto the show was to talk about like the power of great sex.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is something else that you have studied.
Yes.
And really the science of it. Because I think people think, oh, well, it's just supposed to happen, right? Now, there are things that, of course, I know about our biochemistry, and there's hormones that are happening, and we've got our oxytocin and the dopamine and so on and so forth, which, yeah, the body's going to do those things. But like, let's talk about the things that you have studied and the science of great sex.
Yeah.
Because, we all want great sex.
As I'm sure you have studied yourself, sex, everything happens in the brain. You have all these sensory organs, and there's wires, and they all go and they get interpreted in the brain, and that's where pleasure actually happens. Pleasure doesn't happen on your skin, doesn't happen on your clit, it doesn't happen on your dick. It happens inside the head. So if that is the case, then what can we do to enhance this pleasure? So the talk that I give is called The Science of Great Sex, 9 Principles for Greater Bonding and Pleasure. And my humble hypothesis is that sex is better when you have more bonding and when you have greater pleasure. And you have to think about the evolutionary origins of sex. I mean, everything about evolution leads to this. This is the thing. Everything is designed for this, so you can make babies. The whole process of life is to turn matter and energy into babies. That's it. So this is the process by which it happens. And therefore, evolution is attached to the various activities in sex, this thing called pleasure, which is a cool little trick. It's like, oh, this thing that you do that's going to saddle you with offspring for the rest of your life, such that you will lose sleep, income, and time and happiness. Sorry, people with offspring, but it's true. This is going to feel really good. You should do it. It'll be fun. So that's the pleasure part. And then there's the bonding part. So evolution has designed us to be pro-social creatures. So the more we cooperate, the better we survive. So what it built into sex is this notion of bonding, that two people will become very strongly pair bonded and therefore support each other and therefore support the resulting offspring, but also within the tribe help one another out. And there's evidence that we used to be far more Catholic in our tastes when it came to bonding with other members of our tribe, and there were fewer restrictions and nobody really knew whose kid was whose. But in the era of monogamy, the whole idea of bonding is still a great thing. So let's assume that pleasure and bonding are good things, and how can we configure our sexual activity, our intimacy, such that we get more of that. Is that a reasonable premise to start with?
I am already liking this. I'm fascinated.
All right.
I'm like on
Great.
the edge
Fantastic.
of my seat here. Like, let's go.
All right. So principle number 1 is very straightforward. It's to slow the fuck down.
Oh my God. Everybody listen. Like, I love hearing that from a man, by the way. Okay, carry on.
So
Yes.
and literally and figuratively, the use of profanity in this talk is entirely intentional. And here's the deal: anything worth doing is worth doing slowly. And the current trend is to rush through everything in life. So you're eating this gourmet meal at the same time you're talking, you're wolfing it down, the whole thing goes by, and you don't even notice what happened, right? And so I'd like to tell a brief story about the greatest spoonful of food I've ever eaten, the most pleasurable spoonful of food I've ever eaten. You want to hear this?
Yes,
All right,
please.
So here we go. So I'm at this meditation retreat. It's a 5-day silent retreat. And on the first day, we're there and we're staring into people's eyes. We're sitting there. It's super intense. You're completely tuned into your environment and your body. And so
And
the lunch break happens and Lola says hi.
And Lola says hi, of course, because,
Yes.
you know, she's clearly excited about this topic.
Absolutely. And we silently go into lunch and they hand us these little cups of vegetarian chili. And I bring that to your attention because this is not like super duper gourmet chili. It's just,
Retreat
sustenance.
chili.
Exactly. It's a retreat chili. It's not even warmed over. It's just kind of, room temp. And they hand this to us and we sit down and I take this first spoonful and put it in my mouth and there is this explosion of sensation inside my mouth, right? This orgasm going straight to the top of my head, down into my toes, because there's texture of the beans, of the tomatoes getting crushed against my palate. There's the saltiness, there's the sweetness, there's the sour of the various ingredients. You got tomatoes, you got beans, you got lentils, and all this stuff is happening. And for the first time in my life, I am fully aware of it happening.
Wow.
And the idea is that there's nothing remarkable about this particular spoonful of food. It was just that I was finally paying attention.
Yes.
And the fact of the matter is that all throughout our lives, we are constantly surrounded by miracles and by sensation, by stuff that is happening. Even right now, you can tune into the little ecstasy of the sensation of that chair on your elbow or one leg over the other, skin moving against skin, any number of things, right? The smell of frankincense right now on the palm of my hand, right? And as soon as you tune in, your brain lights up. And so what I advocate when it comes to sex is to slow things down and really savor things. And remember that everything is sex. Like just that gentle touch of skin on skin, of tracing your finger on your beloved's forearm. That can be an ecstatic sensation. And also when it comes to the actual intercourse thing, right? If you slow that down and really pay attention instead of thinking about, say, baseball, then think about baseball, come on. Then everything gets super duper enhanced. And if you look into the literature about Tantra and Taoist sexuality, a lot of it is about just that, about tuning into sensation and just really slowing things down.
And there's a great monologue, one of my favorite plays, many of the listeners know, and I've had the pleasure of producing and performing in this play for charity events that I've done, the Vagina Monologues. And it says, what would you like everybody, men to know, basically? And it's slow down, and the whole cast says it at the same time. Yeah. It really, it cannot be stressed enough.
Yeah, and there's no destination. So people think that, we must get to orgasm as quickly as possible. But really, I think about pleasure as you got this curve, right? And the area under the curve is the total amount of pleasure you experience. So if you slow things down, then the area under the curve is huge because you can go on basically indefinitely. Whereas if you go, big spike, and then
it's
thank
over.
you very much, then it's done.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that, destination thing. Just enjoy the slowed down journey. And you're journeying together. So principle number 2 flows straight out of that. It's the idea of synchrony, the idea of moving together. So there's a great book by Kelly McGonigal. It's called Kelly McGonigal, Jay McGonigal. Let's say Kelly. Yeah, it's Kelly McGonigal. It's all about exercise. It's called The Joy of Movement. And it talks about how group exercise is so much more pleasurable because we're synchronizing our movement with other people. And something funny happens when you do that, which is that our mental maps of our bodies start to overlap. You start to feel like you're one entity.
Yes.
Right? And there's a reason why people say that they rate concerts even higher than sex as the most pleasurable experience of their lives. Because you have this group synchrony happening, people moving together at the same beat. And so when it comes to sexuality and intimacy, what you want to do is you want to synchronize your movement and breath with your partner. So breath is a huge part of it. So basically all of tantric practice is about breath. You breathe together. So right now we can do that even. Let's do a little
Let's do it
5
right
breaths together.
now.
Here we go. Everybody who's listening, so breathe with me on a count of 1. Breathe in 5 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more time. And exhale. Let's do it one more time. And exhale. So when you do that, that's 3 times. You get the idea. You can do it indefinitely, but just taking 5 minutes at the beginning to synchronize your breath with your partner and maybe synchronize your movement too. And that just makes all the difference in lighting your brain up to heights that you could not imagine before.
So I love this, and I'm a huge advocate for it. And I'm going to play devil's advocate because
Please.
I can hear some listener out there going, my partner is not going to breathe with me for 5 minutes. Like
Yeah.
they're going to think I'm crazy. They're going to think this is some silly meditation, woo, whatever
Yeah.
thing. What would you say to that?
Yeah, well, 5 minutes seems like a long time to do it if it's just the first time. So start with 3. I mean,
3 breaths.
those 3 breaths
Yeah.
right there, that made a difference.
Yeah.
I felt it. You felt it.
Yeah.
Start with 3. I mean, who can't take 3 breaths together?
Yeah.
Right. And then from there, you build it up. And the thing is, in a lot of these tantric and Taoist practices, people achieve ecstatic states just through the breathing. There's no touch even involved. So once you do that, and breath work is having a resurgence, people are getting into that. So this is where it starts.
Yeah.
And you do that and you add some other practices we're about to tell you about, and then the whole process becomes a lot more fun and less of a chore.
Yes, bondy and pleasurably.
Yeah. And the thing is, go check it out for yourself. So they say the last words of the Buddha to his congregation were ehipassiko. Don't take my word for it. Go figure out for yourself. So you do this. It feels good. You keep on doing it. If it doesn't feel good, do something else.
Move on. Exactly.
I'm giving you 9 principles.
Exactly.
If you take even one of them and run with it, things are going to shift big time.
I love it.
So let's talk about the third one. Number 3 is exploration. So one of the things that we're really not taught in school is, hey, how does this body thing work, especially when it comes to pleasure?
Yeah.
Right? And so people think, well, there are these buttons, there's the nipples, there's the clitoris, there's the penis and lips, and that's pretty much it. And we'd like to tell you that there's a whole hell of a lot more. There's this entire canvas of the body that one can explore actively. So you've got around 2 million skin nerve endings on your body, all kinds of different receptors. You got the touch receptors, light touch, deep touch, temperature, and all these different receptors are sitting there waiting to be stimulated, and they are capable of pleasure. So why not go ahead and explore them with all these different modalities, right? So I didn't bring the book with me. I should have brought the book with me, but there's a great book, and it's called Jewel in the Lotus, and it's about...
It's on the bookshelf here.
Oh, well, fantastic.
It actually is on the bookshelf here.
It better be, right? But what I like teaching people is this, the Kama Marma massage. So marmas are these small energy centers all over your body, and Kama is pleasure. And the idea is that you have these different degrees of sensitivities of these marmas. So you got the primary spots, And those are the obvious ones. So you got the nipples, you got the lips, you got the penis, you got the clitoris. And then you got the secondary spots like the back of the knee, little sensitive spot, earlobes. And then you got the tertiary ones like, the side of the pinky here, bottom of the feet, various other spots that you may not have thought about, the gluteal fold, just where leg becomes butt. And the idea is that you stimulate these in a particular order. You go 2 to 1 to 3, right? So you go to 2, because if you start with 1, then everything else is not going to be that great. But if you start with 2, then you're teasing both the 1 and the 3. You're waking things up, right? So you lick, kiss, and blow on these various parts in sequence. And that way you find out all the various happy buttons on your partner, right? That you didn't even know existed. So, and you can take that map to start with, or you can just make your own map. You have your partner lie down and you say, hey, how is this? Give me a rating, 1 to 10. Is it awesome? Is it great? And you can use various modalities of touch. You can use licking, kissing, blowing. You can use warm oil. You can use cold oil. You can use an ice. You can use a piece of mango, all these different things. The amount of exploration you can do is effectively infinite.
Endless.
Yes. And so we give you some tools, go play with them and see what happens. But again, this feeds back in the first principle, which is to slow things down, right? This requires time. So you set aside time, and please do not be afraid of scheduling this, right?
Yes.
People say, oh, well, sex has to be spontaneous. But no, even spontaneous sex has a cue. You go, hey, baby, or you give a wink, or you slap them on the butt. There's a cue there. So the cue can be a time cue. It can be like,
6 o'clock.
It's business time, So
it's bound chicka bow wow.
so it's like, all right, there it is. But the point is, give it the attention that it deserves, and that way you'll get a lot more out of it.
Yeah, and scheduling. And I also really appreciate that, because foreplay is a much forgotten thing.
Yeah.
I think for most people.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think we have porn, to thank for that, and also plenty of media and TV shows. It's like, oh, sure. Yeah, because every guy just gets hard in, a nanosecond.
Right. And stays that
and
way
stays
for 2
that,
hours.
Right. Well, or stays that way even for however the 5 minutes, and just shoves it right in, because the woman's, of course, she's wet and hot and ready right away.
And everybody can support themselves in reverse cowboy indefinitely.
Yes. It's just like, and your leg muscles don't get tired or anything. Yeah. So you would never switch positions. So I really appreciate these, this last principle of the exploration, because there is so much more.
There is stuff. There's spots.
Stuff.
Find the spots. Find the
spots.
buttons. And also remember that, especially in a woman's body, the buttons may change on a day-to-day basis, depending on hormonal levels, time of day, mood. Something may wake up, something may die down. You just don't know, which means that there's so much more variety, right?
Great attitude. And so it does hormonal shifts in terms of for a male body, and not as less variation.
There's less variation. Men have peak testosterone in the daytime. So morning sex is going to be far more vigorous than evening sex, and there's greater sensitivity then. But other than that, guys tend to be on a day-to-day basis about the same. So.
It was interesting. I had learned about that peak, sort of the testosterone dump in the morning, and it's interesting because I didn't actually know that. So
yeah, and sketchy hawkers of pills and things will try to tell you have low testosterone by testing you in the afternoon.
Oh.
So you're like, oh, you have the testosterone of a 7-year-old. It's like, oh my God, I got to fix this. But really, you're supposed to be tested in the morning. So.
I see. Yes. Well, every time I go to get my hormones tested, I know I have to go fasted, no food, no whatnot, first thing in the morning.
Something like that.
Something like that. Okay. Anyhow, carrying on.
All right, let's keep going then. So we got synchrony, exploration, and also let's engage all 5 senses. You have 5. Why just stick with 1? So visual, auditory, kinesthetic touch, olfactory, and gustatory. All 5 can experience pleasure, right? People say, oh, that music was gorgeous. Well, guess what? You can incorporate that into your lovemaking practice. So visual, obviously people know about the visual attunement of things, but I'm always surprised to hear that people turn the lights off
Yeah.
during sex. And I'm like, hello, the lover's body is like the most delicious, pleasurable thing, especially for a guy, right? So ladies, don't worry about the angles, the lighting. This is what he signed up for. He's into it. And if you're the only woman in the room, then he's into that. Don't worry about it. There's no comparison. And generally speaking, men are just happy to be with you. So yes, luxuriate in the visual sensation. Allow yourself to be seen and also enjoy visually your partner. So auditory. Sounds are huge. Guys especially, they're very much attuned to sound. So feel free to make sounds. And also, what you want to do is you want to convey to your partner that you're enjoying something, because that way they, oh, this is working. And as a guy, I know that's like one of the most rewarding aspects. Like, oh, she's into this. This is awesome. Okay. Doesn't mean you have to go full on like porn fake mode, but actually luxuriate in the sensation and convey that via sound if you can.
I'm going to raise my hand for a quick second.
Please.
And also say for the male listeners out there, women really like it when you men make noise. And
All right.
I find that there are many men who do not, right? I don't know, and maybe you can speak to that, because I find that fascinating. I don't know if it's like, it's not going to be macho or it's going to be I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Women love hearing a man hit, and I think man, woman, but just hearing your partner's pleasure.
Absolutely.
Right. So is there something that men are like, no, don't make too much noise?
You mean the random simian grunts are enough?
I literally wrote an essay, by the way, just as an aside. It was the first piece of mine that ever got published nearly, 15 plus years ago. And it was about an experience I had with a man who made no noise, none. When he came, like no noise. It was horrifying to me.
I'm telling you.
It was horrifying.
That sounds
horrifying.
traumatizing.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Okay.
All right.
So we're at sound.
So
yes.
you got kinesthetic. So we already talked a little bit about touch, but there's all these different modes of touch, and there's deep pressure, different receptors, light pressure, different receptors. There's temperature. It's cold. There's warm. There's slippery. There's wet. There's all kinds of different ways you can incorporate different notions of touch into your sexual activity. And there's smell, and there's also taste. And this is what makes sex one of the few activities in life that engage all five senses. So eating is the other one, and incorporate those too. And one technique that I like to offer people is the whole idea of the mango slice, right? So if you're doing your exploration on your partner's body, so take that little slice of mango and touch the various parts, say, how does that feel? And then lick it off, right? So you're incorporating the touch, the smell, the taste, all these things at the same time. And get creative with it. So we're just giving you a sampler here, but you, I'm sure, have plenty of ideas of your own out there to incorporate all five senses into your lovemaking, because that's what just lights the entire brain up. So it's not just about tab A into slot B. This is the full range. And you talked about foreplay, and I don't even use the word foreplay. I encourage people to think of the entire process as sex. Because it is.
Well, and as play.
Yeah.
Exploration, play.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, and I'm so glad you brought up the five senses, because that's like what I wrote my book about, right? For people to wake the fuck up to consciously using your senses, and for sure in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So that's brilliant.
Yeah. And this lights up all the different parts of your brain. So as opposed to just one of them, you can have the entire brain going wee, and cheaper than therapy.
Yeah, exactly. Get a little essential oil candle,
absolutely
it's like,
essential. It's
definitely cheaper than a therapy session.
All right. So that's a big part of it. And now we're getting to serious neuroscience here, which is to activate what I call the dopamine axis. So dopamine, people have heard about by now. It's this neurotransmitter which mediates a lot of different things. People think it's like the pleasure chemical, but it's really more like the anticipation chemical, the anticipation of pleasure chemical. And so what it does, dopamine gets lit up when there is a novel stimulus in the environment. Okay, so novelty, surprise, all these things light up your dopamine axis, and that in turn goes to the pleasure center of your brain, the ventral tegmental area, and that way you actually go wee and things feel good. So some things that actually activate your dopamine axis are surprise, novelty, anticipation, and variety.
Anticipation. You've seen the Rocky Horror Picture
Of course,
Show?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Your mind is full of anticipation.
So good.
So yeah, so these four things: surprise, novelty, anticipation, and variety. These are what light up your brain. So what do you want to do? You want to incorporate surprise. For example, you say, "Oh, honey, I'm now going to blindfold you, and it's going to be great," right? Or you have anticipation. You say, "Oh, at 7:00, this is going to happen." So all day they're going to be anticipating this thing happening, right? And blindfolding, by the way, is a great trick because it activates a lot of those things. Because once you're blindfolded, now everything is kind of a surprise. You don't know where things are coming from, and your whole brain's going to be lit up in anticipation of what's going to happen next. So that's a pretty powerful technique right there. And novelty. So try new things. You have the entire Anangaranga, you have the entire Kama Sutra, you have, I don't know, all these booklets full of different techniques. Use them, try them out, test them.
How about just like do the dishes in lingerie?
Well, you can do that too. Exactly.
Just like novelty.
Right. And then the guy's like, wait a sec,
Like,
what's going on here? And what happens after the dishes are washed? Or maybe dishwashing is a good thing. I don't know. So, and all these different ways of lighting up your brain allow you to, basically you're hacking your brain in order to feel even greater pleasure. So, and surprise in general is a powerful way of reawakening your brain and your whole relationship. It's like a reset button on your relationship. So in the happiness engineering talk that I give, the top level piece of advice I give to couples who may have experienced a certain amount of dulling of the relationship, taking one another for granted, is to do new things together. And I say, okay, go hiking in a different spot every week or once a week. Go take a cooking class or something, cook a new dish. But this is another arena in which you can deliberately engineer novelty into your life, because it's so easy to pick up a new technique, a new toy, a new whatever it is that you find would be pleasurable with your partner.
Yes.
To add that variety and surprise and novelty and anticipation. So let's go to the next one. This one's a big one and a really simple one: eye contact. So when you directly look into somebody's eyes and you hold that gaze for more than 1/1000, 2/1000, 3/1000, what happens is you produce this chemical called phenethylamine. And this phenethylamine thing is a bonding chemical. And if you find it uncomfortable to look into the eyes of a stranger for longer than 3 seconds, that's why. Because you get it mediates these intense feelings. And that's why people avoid gazing into strangers' eyes for longer than that. However, if you do have a partner and you do this, guess what? Things get pretty intense pretty quickly. And it's super powerful. It's a bonding experience and it's pleasurable. So you don't have to do it forever, but if you just set aside a minute or two of eye gazing, then things can get very interesting. If you make it like a 10 or 15 minute thing, you start going into altered states of consciousness and even ecstatic states. So I have done this in various workshop settings and it's pretty trippy.
It's really beautiful. And I'm like, and combine that with like synchronized breathing. And now, now you're fucking cooking with gas. And
I'm
it's
so glad you
like,
brought that, because you do the breathing and you do the eye gazing and maybe do like a little movement of hands together or something like that. And boom, next thing you know, you're flying.
You are bonded and feeling good.
It's a great start to things. Let's just put it that way.
I like that a lot. And I'm just going back to surprise because there was a thing that flitted in and out of my head. But I was like, this is why an unexpected and surprise spank at the right times just throughout the day, maybe,
There you
right?
go.
Might be a really fun thing.
Exactly. Oop.
Yeah. Hello.
Spanking, goosing,
Goosing.
that has happened. And, my head hits the ceiling like, whoa, but definitely wakes up the neurology.
Yes. Yes.
All right. And let's go to the next one. The next one, I believe we're on number 7, is...
I'm so engaged, I've lost count.
There's so many. Excitement in the context of safety. Okay? So this is all about the parasympathetic nervous system. So one of the mnemonics in medical school that I'll always remember is point and shoot. So point means that parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for erection, and shoot, sympathetic nervous system is responsible for ejaculation, right? And so it turns out that you need the parasympathetic nervous system to get to the pleasurable part of sex, because your brain's got priorities. And priority number one is survival. So if there's a saber-toothed cat hanging out over there in the bushes, you are not going to get freaky, because it's like, wait a sec.
Unless that's your kink.
Well, you'll have that once and then never again, right? But your brain's priority, your brain is designed for you to survive. It's not designed for happiness or pleasure or anything. It's designed for you to survive. So that's priority number one. So when you are with your partner, especially if you're a guy, you have a duty to create an environment of safety. So how do you not do that? By having a messy, dirty place that's noisy and maybe there's pointy objects lying around. Okay, you want to have a place that is calm, that is clean, clean towels. Guys, clean towels are big. So
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's really a thing, huh?
yeah. And what you want to do is you want to create this environment in which the neurology of your partner can relax, and
Yes.
yours too, because that is the only context in which pleasure is possible. Because pleasure is not a priority, right? But once you create the environment, then you can really relax into it. And having that deep parasympathetic activation is essential, especially for the female orgasm. So guys can orgasm, about 60 seconds, because it's like, all right, let's just send the seed and we're out of here. But no, for ladies, it's not quite that way. You got to warm up the engine, you got to take your time, and the context has to be safe. So make sure you have that context of deep safety such that you can activate the parasympathetic nervous system and fully explore the range of pleasure possibilities. Otherwise, it's just not possible.
I'm stuck on dirty towels. Is that like, do men really have, I haven't experienced that, I guess, in a long time. But so do men, is that a thing? Dirty towels?
I've lived with many a man, and yeah, I'm not proud of what I've seen.
What, they just, toss them on the floor? Listeners, help me out here.
Well, it's very simple. The male philosophy is that, I only use the towel when I've already showered and I'm clean, so why do I need to wash it?
Oh.
And so it may sit there for like a month and not be...
Oh, I see. Okay. Yes. Clean towels, please.
Yeah, exactly. And clean sheets and clean everything, right?
Yes.
Just so, because that's not what you want on your partner's mind.
No, it's the thing that I've always said and thought about more often, because this is more of the things I hear about from clients of mine, where it's like there's the dirty laundry, right? There's just the underwear and the socks on the floor and the this and the, just things tossed about, which of course not an environment
Right.
that you feel
Right.
relaxed in.
Exactly. And also, let's keep pets out of the bedroom. So I've had many unusual experiences where I feel a wet snout on my butt. I'm like, what is that? Or a cat like jumps on my head at the exact wrong time. I'm like, hello.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
So these are buzzkills. So
Oh my goodness.
yeah, just make sure the container is safe and then go to town. So that brings us to the penultimate principle, and this one is big, and this gets a little scientific, and this is deep, right? This is something that most people don't think about, but it's what I call regulated stimulus intensity. Okay, so
Wow,
what do I mean by this?
Big phrase.
Yeah, so what do I mean by this? That means let's not overdo things, right? So if I were to give you a piece of banana right now, or a piece of mango right now, do you like bananas or mangoes, something like that?
I do.
Fantastic. Okay, it would probably taste pretty good to you. Like, this is sweet and delicious and gooey, nice texture. You're like, wow, this is great. Now, if right after that I give you a piece of cheesecake, you'd probably taste that and go, okay, that's really nice and sweet. And then I give you the piece of banana again. Now the banana is going to taste like cardboard. Okay, just because what's happened is your senses have adjusted to the new level of intensity of stimulus, right? And all of your senses have this capability. Your eyes, you come from a dark room outside, it adjusts to the light, but you come back in, suddenly it's like totally dark, right? Same thing with sound, loud noises, and your sense organs of pleasure do this as well. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to overstimulate yourself. And I'm talking about the rabbit here and things like that because I've known many a skillful man out there, but none of them operate at 12,000 RPM. Right? So,
Yes.
and so, you know, if a guy is going down on you, but he's competing with the rabbit, which is going, it's just not going to work as well, right? So what you don't want to do is you don't want to desensitize your tingly organs with something that is so intense that when you get an actual person in the room, it doesn't work as well. So this works with pornography, it works with sex toys, masturbation, all these things. It's very easy to overdo them, especially with pornography. You have these guys, and I, had this friend of mine. He was 27 years old, very good-looking man, but he no longer could get it up in the sack with one woman.
With a regular human, yeah.
Yeah, because he'd consume like 2 gigabytes of I don't know, Girls Gone Wild or something, and now suddenly just one person in the room just was not enough, right? So this can dull your senses, and it's just a simple feature of mammalian neurology that we adjust to good things and bad things. But when you adjust to the good things, that means you need a gooder thing in order to get to that point of actually feeling something again. So what you want to do is you want to be actually parsimonious in the amount of stimulus that you give yourself, right? You want to meter it out. You don't want to get crazy with it, right? And an orgy every once in a while is great, but if you're doing it on a weekly basis, then when you have one partner, it's not going to work, right? Or vibrators that are vibrating at very high frequencies, right? That is not the kind of stimulus that a human mouth or tongue or even finger can
replicate.
Exactly. So what you want to do is you want to go easy on you. And sure, there is room for indulgence every once in a while. And that's why I tell people, have dessert once a month, right? Make it a treat. So if you have that cheesecake once a month.
Wait, once a month? I was like, dessert only once a month? I mean, I'm on a whole new food protocol right now, so I'm like radically reduced of everything. But I'm like...
But when you make it a treat, when you make it a rare treat, then when you have it, it's like, pooh, your brain just takes off into the outer cosmos, and it's much more intense. I mean, at most once a week. So you don't, you just don't want to.
I was going to say once a week because there's like, cheat day, right? That people say on their, when they do their food programs and things like this.
It takes about 2 weeks for your dopamine receptors to downregulate. So once you have overstimulated yourself, then you get more dopamine receptors, such that you need a bigger hit of dopamine to feel that initial sensation, right? And this happens with any drug that you take. This is why River Phoenix ended up face down the ditch, dead of a heroin overdose, because you just had to up the stimulus from, I'm good at this. Oh, I'm getting gigs. Oh, I'm an actor. I'm a paid actor. Oh, I'm one of the most famous actors in the world. Oh, now I need to do heroin. Now I need more heroin. Now I'm dead. So don't do it.
Yeah. My question is actually because about that. So you said this downgrading, but can you regulate yourself?
Yeah.
Because I do know some people who have been addicted to porn and also cannot get it up and with a human woman in the room because there's just been so much stimulus through the visual and through the fantasy and so on and so forth. So is it possible to...
Yes. I mean, for the most part, yes, you can, if you don't stimulate it at all, then the receptors get downregulated again. It'll never be quite the same. And certain drugs, there's no going back. So for example, once you do heroin, people say you're pretty much always a heroin addict. And
because like you have a new baseline. A new baseline. Yeah. Okay.
However, if you abstain, things tend to chill out again. And of course, practices like meditation definitely help too.
Okay.
But yeah, 2 weeks is the amount of time you need to get off of something in general.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So it's like if you've been kind of watching porn for a little while, like take 2 weeks off and see what happens.
Or longer if you've been doing a lot. So,
right.
Because the brain just needs to reconfigure itself. And that is an actual physical process. It takes time. It says, okay, we don't need to have all these dopamine receptors hanging out here. Let's take them back. And then you start to become more sensitive to the everyday pleasures of life. And this is what I consider to be the essence of Tantra, which is a sensitivity to the world, of being in love with the world, such that everything is a source of pleasure and joy.
Yes.
So even the slightest thing. And so much of Western culture is about the culture of more. Mm-hmm. And this is about the idea that less is more, the idea that less is the source of increasing your sensitivity to everything in the world, and thereby experiencing a life of greater pleasure and well-being. If you eat cheesecake every day, not only will you lose your taste for all other foods, but you'll eventually lose your taste for cheesecake too. Even that won't be pleasurable.
Yes. No, that I understand that. It's a really important and share the phrase again that you said, the
Which
regulating the
down regulation regulated stimulus intensity.
Thank you. Yes. Regulated stimulus intensity.
Yes. So basically, go easy. Mm-hmm. And be mindful.
Principle number 1, which is slow down.
Yes, slow down and don't get crazy. And with all due respect to people in the BDSM community, but that is there are a lot of practices that thrive on intensity.
Yes.
And when you have that kind of intensity, you lose all of the potential pleasure that's less intense than that, which is basically the rest of life.
Well, let me ask you about that, because that you brought that up, because I was thinking about the BDSM community, and I was thinking about, like, I'll just say for myself personally, I know that there are many times when it's like, okay, if I haven't had sex for a while and I can tell my nervous system is getting really wound up, and fine, I might have been exercising and just doing the things that I can do on my own, there's a whole other level of intensity and pleasure and all the rest of this that occurs when you're with a partner and you do have, sex. But there's something about the beautiful depth and intensity that happens that, in my experience, I call it an unwinding of my nervous system. Can you talk? Does that make sense to you in terms of just what's happening medically, neurobiologically, or? There's
a lot of stuff happening, and that's a whole discussion. I will not claim to be an expert in that domain, but on the intensity level, I would endeavor to make that, put that in the category of making it a treat. So make that a treat as opposed to your regular practice. Because otherwise, then you just have to increase the intensity every time. And that there's a saturation point beyond which is just not going to work anymore. But you also, that loss of sensitivity to the rest of stimulus is a big deal. And this is the theme of this talk, which is that don't go for more, go for feeling more. So not more intensity, not more stuff, but increased sensitivity.
Yes. Okay. I get that. I like that. That makes sense to me. Yeah. And I think, even just if you haven't had, maybe you're not in a partnership, but if you haven't had sex for a while, or if you have a lover that you see every couple of weeks, there's still that opportunity to have the sensitivity, maybe with a little treat, of intensity, right, while you're experiencing it on these.
Absolutely. And this goes back to the whole notion of the hedonic treadmill, which a lot of people have heard about, which is the idea that if you focus on making yourself happier and happier with greater amounts of stimulus and stuff, then you just need more to stay in the same spot, so to stay in place. And that's the whole idea of, you need a greater dose of the heroin, the cocaine, the booze, the sex, the porn, whatever it is. And so the solution to that is to develop the greater sensitivity to the now, and that meditative practice of actually feeling everything all the time.
Getting off on the wind just blowing on your skin. And
what if you could do that, right?
Yeah. Well, hugging the tree.
Everything.
I swear to God, there's this one block, and these neighbors, I don't know what these people must think of me. I'm sure somebody has seen me do this more than once. There's this one tree. It's the tree that I love in my neighborhood. And when Lola takes us this way, I always stop, and I press my body up against it, hug it, as if this is my lover. And it feels so good.
There you go.
And the other morning it happened, and I thought, is somebody looking out their window? But all of a sudden I got a little self-conscious, and I was like, oh, fuck it. I wonder what they think of me. But they're like, okay, that woman walks a pit bull with her, I wear this big crazy sun hat because I like to keep, myself covered. Anyway, I have these hilarious stories running in my head of what people must think when I Hug the tree.
They're just
Those
experiencing
neighbors.
intense tree envy. That's what's happening.
Is that what's happening? Okay. Well, no, they don't know what they're missing.
And so finally, let's get to principle number 9.
Oh, 9. Okay.
Principle number 9 is a very powerful one, and that is to establish a feedback loop. Now, one thing that I've noticed in my own personal experience, and I've also, heard from other people, is that people apparently don't really communicate much during sex, right? I mean, there's some like grunts and some loud noises, but they're not actually communicating. And partially this makes sense because the blood is going to different parts of your body and brain, and maybe it breaks the spell of the moment if you talk, and it does. It's engaging a different part of the brain. But you do want to have a feedback loop to find out what's working, right? So what I encourage people to do is to establish some kind of nonverbal communication system with your partner such that that something feels good, right? So you could, of course, just say, okay, I'm going to touch various parts of your body. You give me a 1 to 10 rating. You could also just have your partner hold one of your fingers, and depending on the strength of how much you squeeze that finger, they'll know, okay, this is good, this is not so good, right? But the whole notion is, hey, you're trying to become a cartographer of your lover's body. How do you find out, right? How do you know which spot is good? How do you know this thing that I'm doing is good? This particular angle is good. So establish that feedback loop, however you do it, that works for the both of you. Maybe talking does work for you. Who knows, right? Maybe nonverbal works better for you. And that way, you can actually start to feel your partner more, because you don't have a direct connection to them. Although if you do the eye gazing and the synchronous movement thing, you start to develop unusual channels of communication with your partner that you didn't think you had before. But this is the most reliable way of finding out what's working and what's not.
You're reminding me of when I was learning to ride a motorcycle. And my very good friend who was my motorcycle ambassador, and I would ride on the back of his, and he taught me very early on when I was a passenger for him. And I thought, why doesn't everybody do this? Because I'd ridden on other people's motorcycles. But he basically said, okay, I don't know this area we're going to. You're telling us to go to this restaurant, whatever. So when it's time for me to make a left turn, tap me on my left thigh, right? When it's time for me to make a right turn, tap me on my right thigh. Because you can't really, you're shouting. I mean, if you're on a freeway or whatever, it's difficult to talk. Yeah. So there were these hand signals, and it's like, oh, duh. I thought that was brilliant just for the motorcycle experience, but it makes so much sense for the bedroom as well.
Absolutely.
Or the kitchen floor or the couch. And
it's one more occasion for creating bonding, because you're creating the secret language between the two of you. And, kids have their secret languages, and you have this sign system or this word system or whatever it is, and that's even more intimacy.
And you're saying also that there's sometimes with the breathing and of course the eye gazing and all the rest of this, it creates this unusual way of conversing. Like you just start to understand. What do you think that is?
Well, we have all these different systems that science hasn't even figured out yet. So there's the mirror system. Apparently the mirror neurons aren't really a thing, but there's this mirror system by which you feel other people. And I know it's true of me when I see somebody in a movie get slapped on the head. I'm like, ooh, that doesn't feel good, right?
Would you call that being empathic?
Exactly. And some people have more of that than others. There's this guy, he's a doctor, his name is Joel Salinas, and he has mirror touch synesthesia, and he actually feels everything that his patients feel. So somebody comes in with a gash wound in their side, he's like, he just, he feels it. It makes it a much better diagnostician. But the point is, there are potentially mystical, magical realms that science has not even figured out of communication. And when you do these things, you start gaining access to them. And various spiritual traditions like the Tantrikas, like the Taoist masters, they spent literally thousands of years figuring this shit out. So we would do well to go and follow those traditions and emulate some of their practices.
When was the moment that you were like, I am fascinated by, not only medicine, because I mean, you're a doctor, but that you were like, I'm fascinated by how this works, particularly in the realm of sexuality
Yeah.
and spirit. Was there a pivotal moment for you?
Yeah, I think it's called adolescence.
Oh, well, that early on.
Well, boys are fascinated, and I think obsessed is probably a better word for
Okay,
it.
yes, obsessed with, but that doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're going to make your life's work about that.
Well, there's this principle that people tend to invest a lot in the things that they were deprived of, and it's always when you see somebody who's really into something, it's almost always some kind of overcompensation for serious deprivation. So you see somebody who's like really blingy and with the house and the Rolls Royce, probably grew up poor, and so. The poverty that I had in my life was the poverty of women. So growing up in Iran, at a certain age, boys and girls got segregated in separate schools, so there were no girls anymore, right? And then I come to the U.S. at age 13, and I'm utterly clueless. I have no idea what to do. Here are these mystical, magical, beautiful creatures, and I have no access to them, right? Had my first kiss at age 19. So that was a lot of thinking about this without actually being able to do anything about it. And so all this time that I had without getting any play, I learned about play and found the Taoist literature, found all the stuff about sexuality, and obviously I was trained as a neuroscientist as well, so all this fed into each other, and so yeah, here we are.
And did you find the Taoist literature on your own, or was that through? Did somebody introduce it to you, or it was literally just like one of those magical, mystical?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I worked in bookstores from age 13 onwards, and there was always this book that people kept on buying. It was called The Tao of Pooh. I'm like, what the hell is this, right? And why do people keep on buying it? And eventually, when I was in medical school, like 6-7 years later, I pick it up and read it, and I was like, holy smokes, this has the ring of truth to it. So then I go pick up the Tao Te Ching, and I get way into it, and then the gateway book to Taoist sexuality is the Multi-Orgasmic Man by Mantak Chia, the Thai Chinese Taoist master, and so basically the first time I ever had sex, I was multi-orgasmic because I've been practicing this shit.
Amazing.
But then I realized, there's a lot of depth to this, and there's a lot of things that people are missing. So, and having a bit of a perfectionist streak in me, I believe in if something's worth doing, it's worth not just doing slowly, but doing it well.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. So you had been practicing the Taoist techniques on your own.
Yeah.
And then, well, anyway, lucky you.
Yeah,
And
she's like, what just happened? I'm like, I don't know.
was it her first time too?
No.
Okay. So she was like, I don't understand how, like, you are some mystical creature.
It's like, guys aren't supposed to come multiple times. I'm like, I'm not the average guy. I don't know.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know, they make us differently over in the Middle East. Right?
Who knows? But yeah, and this stuff, and for the men listening out there, so this stuff can transform your whole life. And these Taoist scholars, they've been testing these ideas and working on them for centuries.
So actually, now that you brought up like multi-orgasmic man, because that doesn't necessarily mean ejaculation multiple times. So just define that for us and for the listeners, because we have not talked about that very often. And I know we're not going to go down the long road about this, but I still think it's worth.
Yeah, the short version is that physiologically, orgasm and ejaculation are linked in men, but they're actually two different pathways. There are two different neurological pathways, and with some practice, you can separate the two. So, and it's about developing a certain amount of sensitivity control and muscle control and breathing control. And if you combine these three things, what you can do is you can have the experience of orgasm, which happens inside your brain, but not actually ejaculate. And this involves familiarizing yourself with like your zone of sensitivity and the point of no return, and pulling back right before you hit that zone of no return. And what that does for men is that allows them to have something approximating the pleasure that women experience on a daily basis. Which is to have one orgasm and another one and another one. And once you get to like number 3 or 4, you start going into realms of altered consciousness that you just haven't had before. And also greater experience of bonding and pleasure with your partner, because oh, wow, I'm doing this for my partner. This is amazing. I've never seen anything like this before. And your partner often takes great pleasure in your pleasure. And if we're going to get technical, the best way to do it is not by intercourse, but rather manually, having your partner manually stimulate you and you giving her very specific instructions about when to start and stop. But once you get good at it, you can also do it during intercourse if you have a good communication system set up, because it's important to stop at the right time and then restart.
So fascinating. So much to talk about. Maybe we have to do a whole other episode on just like men's sexuality.
Men
And
men have sexuality too.
hello. And I do love our male listeners because I know you're out there, and I appreciate you tuning into this pretty femme-centric show. Yet there's always something for everybody here. Oh my God, I could talk to you forever. And I love your big throbbing brain. So
Well, when you talk about it, when you say it that way.
no, it's always you always have something interesting to bring to any conversation.
Okay.
And I appreciate, your commitment to learning and all the stuff that you do. Really have a big brain, by the way. You do. So speaking of things that might be in your brain,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you the 2 questions of the podcast.
Please.
So of all the things, and there are many answers, so there's no like one right one. So what the first thing that kind of pops in is what I encourage you to share. Of all the things that can tune you in, connect you to spirit, what's
Yeah.
one thing that will always do it for you?
Looking up at the stars. So in Los Angeles, the stars you can actually see are the ones on Hollywood Walk of Fame, but occasionally a star will peek out in the sky. And when you look at that, I always imagine that star is, I don't know, 5 million light years away.
Yeah.
And that light that's hitting my retina, it took 5 million years. So like when dinosaurs were still roaming the earth, it left and nothing impeded, and here it is. And the whole thing is just so insanely miraculous that I have no choice but to go into this different zone of whoa and wonder.
Totally. I get that. I love the stars, and I think I've said many times on this podcast, I do moonbathe. So I'm a fan of the night sky.
Excellent.
Okay. And then of all the things, because I now know there are many, 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 but what is one thing that no matter what, it will always turn you on?
Turn me on. Well, what do you mean by turn on? Is this
However
like
you'd like to,
okay.
however you'd like to take that right
Okay.
now. Yeah.
Thing that turns me on. I guess the thing that comes to mind is trees, actually.
Oh, we're back to the trees.
Trees, back to the trees.
All
I mean,
right.
I think you seeded my mind with that notion too. But
Yeah.
I mean, just trees and nature in general, because it's like, holy shit, this thing is alive, right?
Yeah.
And it's just such a magnificent thing. It's its own little ecosystem, and it's a gift. It's spewing oxygen for our benefit, so it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. It is pretty hot, and I don't know, phallic, many of them.
Oh,
Not all of them.
there is that, yes.
Yeah.
But trees are awesome. I mean, pot naked woman roaming in my room, that can also turn me on.
That
but
might work for you every
that
now
might
and
also
again.
work, yeah.
But a good tree.
Yeah.
I'll take the good tree.
Also, the tree can't run away, so.
All right, there's that as well. Oh, well, Allie, it's so good to be with you as always. And I really appreciate you, like I said, in terms of your lifelong sort of scholarship and your willingness and your commitment to share that. Because, a lot of people read and check things out, but not everybody is out there broadcasting it for us all. And with all of your knowledge, it really does make a difference. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. And I appreciate your bringing all this out and providing me with a forum for disseminating the information.
Yes. All right. Well, you know it, everybody. This has been a really yummy, juicy, again, a phenomenal conversation here on The Real Undressed. And as always, it's just bye for now.